Hey everyone, welcome to Judging for the Win. I'm Dave, and this is my daily ruling. Today's question was the subject of a lot of online discussions, and it's a good one to know as both these cards are played in Modern. Amy exerts Arena of Glory and uses the red mana to cast Grizzly Bears. Nick responds to the Grizzly Bear spell with a Dress Down. Can Amy attack with Grizzly Bears this turn? Okay, so before we start off, I imagine some people are probably wondering about that extra red mana that we got with Arena of Glory. The line, if that mana is spent on a creature spell, means if any of that mana is spent, not if all of that mana is spent. I admit that linguistically it's a bit ambiguous, but there is a gatherer ruling that makes it clear which of these is the correct interpretation. That means that if you spend the 2 mana from Arena of Glory on 2 different creature spells, each of them will have haste. Pretty cool, right? Now that we have that special bonus ruling covered, let's return our focus to the question proposed in the original problem statement. We have 2 continuous effects here, one that wants to give the haste ability to Grizzly Bears and another that wants to take it away. A couple of weeks ago I made a video about a very similar situation involving Dress Down and Levitation, and the answer was that whichever continuous effect had the later timestamp wins. I'll refer you to that video if you'd like to know the specifics, including why the dependency rule does not apply in this case. Taking this factor granted, we have just one more job, which is to identify which continuous effect has the later timestamp. With Dress Down, it's pretty straightforward. The loses all abilities effect has a timestamp of when Dress Down entered the battlefield. With Arena of Glory, the situation is a little bit more interesting. To get a good handle on how this works, let's first take a moment to understand exactly how this ability functions. As part of the resolution of Arena of Glory's exert ability, a continuous effect is set up that gives haste to any creature that mana is spent on. This continuous effect cannot begin immediately. After all, until that mana is spent, there's nothing for it to apply to. But it is created as a part of the process of this ability resolving. After the mana is spent on a creature spell, this continuous effect starts to apply to that spell, and later on, when that spell resolves, the creature will be on the battlefield, even though changing zones from the stack to the battlefield causes the creature to become a new object with no relationship to its past self. An exception to this is that effects from activated abilities that change the characteristics of a spell on the stack continue to apply to the permanent that spell becomes, meaning that the Grizzly Bears will still have haste even after it's on the battlefield. Now, a continuous effect generated by the resolution of an ability receives a timestamp at the time it's created, not when it starts applying and not when applying it starts being relevant. Therefore, we can say that the correct timestamp for the continuous effect that gives the Grizzly Bears haste is not when the bears entered the battlefield, nor when it was cast, but the time when the Arena of Glory's exert ability resolved, because that's when this continuous effect was set up. A consequence of this fact is that if you do use the mana from Arena of Glory to give 2 different creatures haste, and a Dress Down comes down, then it's not possible for one of the creatures to have haste afterwards, but not the other one. Either they both have haste, or neither one does. If the Dress Down entered after the Arena of Glory ability resolves, then it will remove haste from both those creatures after the arena grants it. And if Dress Down entered before the Arena of Glory ability resolved, then both creatures will have haste. In either case, the time when either of the affected creatures enters the battlefield or was cast is irrelevant. And that's all I have for you today. How did you do? Join me again next time for another daily ruling. Until then, I hope you have a great day.